Now, we disrupted the market in 2018 with the iconic POCO F1. And today, we're announcing the true flagship killer has returned to disrupt the market once again. So without further ado, introducing the POCO F2 Pro. It's powerfully cool. The POCO F2 Pro is also a performance-driven phone. But we follow the footsteps of F1, but we took it to a whole new level. Today, I'm going to talk about three big things: performance, design, and camera. Now, for the POCO fans over the stream, you know which one I'm going to talk about first. Performance. Powerfully cool performance. Straight power, straight speed. You may be wondering why we're calling the F2 Pro powerfully cool then. Before we get into the cool part, let's start with power. Yes, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865, the leading flagship processor right now. What makes it so incredible is Qualcomm's Snapdragon 865's unique architecture of 1 + 3 + 4, 8 cores, high speed, mid speed, and efficiency cores. It has the ability to run super smooth and optimize power usage. And for our hardcore fans, this uses the latest ARM A77 architecture. And not every 5G handset uses this structure. To give you a better understanding on how fast it is, we compared it to last year's flagship, the Snapdragon 855. It's 25% faster in overall performance. And the AI performance saw an amazing 100% increase. And the power efficiency improved by 25 to 35%. And since it's the latest flagship processor, it also supports 5G and Wi-Fi 6. Now, to pair with such an amazing processor, we had to also match up in the RAM technology and the flash storage. We have the LPDDR5 RAM technology, which has a maximum transmission bandwidth of 44 gigabytes per second. That's absolutely insane. Switching between apps is super fast, and having multiple apps open at the same time or in the background will not lag your phone at all. And to pair such high performance, let's not forget about write speed. Loading times are greatly improved because of the UFS 3.1, with a transmission write speed of 777 megabytes per second. That's amazing. With the best processor, best RAM, and best storage, the POCO F2 Pro's performance is next level. It's a beast in whatever you do: gaming, multitasking, recording videos, transferring files, you name it, and it can handle it. Now, how do we compare ourselves with other phones in the market? Here are some of the CPU scores going up against the Samsung S20 Plus. We scored an Antutu CPU benchmark of 184,817. That's 15% higher than Samsung's latest flagship Exynos 990. And in GPU, we ran a comparison test on the GFX Bench Manhattan 4.0, where we scored 25% higher than the Exynos 990. In fact, we actually maxed out on our score at the 60. So the POCO F2 Pro thrives in both CPU and GPU. We didn't stop there with the comparisons. We also compared ourselves to a recently launched flagship, the OnePlus 8 Pro. It also has a Snapdragon 865, where we scored 3% higher than the OnePlus 8 Pro, and in GPU, both devices were maxed out on the highest score. And that's expected. We're both Snapdragon 865. But what about overall Antutu score? A total score of 589,983 for the POCO F2 Pro. Comparing to the OnePlus 8 Pro, we're roughly 15,000 higher. Comparing to the Samsung S20 Plus, there's a fair bit of difference there. Almost 75,000 in difference. Now, we talked about power, and this score actually doesn't tell the whole story of the POCO F2 Pro. Earlier, I mentioned what makes the POCO F2 Pro powerfully cool. We spoke about the power, now it's time to talk about the cool part. It's actually all to support the idea of sustainable performance. And we want to make sure our users experience no stutter at all, especially in performance. We all know sometimes the flagship speed can get the phone pretty hot. It's expected with so much power packed into a tiny device. And let's take a look at where it gets hot. The 5-core hotspots is located at the F2 Pro, at camera, the radio frequency chip, the charging chipset, the processor, and the 5G modem. So how do we solve this? Introducing the latest liquid-cooled technology 2.0. When we first launched the POCO F1, we started a trend, putting a cooling system in a smartphone. What a crazy idea, but it was well known for it. And this year, we're going to take it to a whole new level once again. After identifying the hotspots, we had to make sure we can detect where the heat is actually spreading. So we installed 10 heat sensors, covering most of the area where the heat is coming from. Then we solve it with 3 different components. A multi-layer graphite, covering most of the battery and the motherboard. A graphene, covering the CPU and 5G chipset. Then the coolest part, a supersized VC to do most of the cooling work. And let me show you how our VC actually works. This is actually how our VC spreads heat, in more than one direction, whereas a typical VC actually only disperses heat in one direction, making it a lot less efficient. But today, I'm actually going to show you 3 disassembled devices, including the POCO F2 Pro. So let's go take a look at the inside. Now, we have 3 disassembled devices here. In the middle, we have the POCO F2 Pro. On the right, the Samsung S20 Plus. On the left, the OnePlus 8 Pro. As you can see, in the middle, this is the POCO F2 Pro supersized VC. For the S20 Plus, they have it placed near the top. For the OnePlus 8 Pro, they also have it near the top. And if you look at it in size, we're so much bigger. And this makes sustainable performance so much easier for us. With our earlier technology that I mentioned, multiple directional heat dispersion, making it more sustainable and run for much longer. Now, let's go back and take a look at a game framing test. Besides being very big in our VC, we also did a frame rate comparison test with the Samsung S20 Plus and the OnePlus 8 Pro. We used a very graphical demanding game and played for 30 minutes straight. In this test, we tested for average frame rate and janks. Janks is actually the amount of times the frame rate has dropped from the highest possible frame rate, which is 60 in this case. So the POCO F2 Pro averaged a 56.62 frame rate per second. The OnePlus 8 Pro averaged 54. And the Samsung S20 Plus, a bit disappointing, but 33.2 FPS. But what actually matters here are the janks number, and we're the lowest by quite a bit margin. So this comes down to the result of bigger cooling equals better sustained performance. And this is why I say the POCO F2 Pro is powerfully cool. And talking about gaming, we actually have some extra cool features. We have a 180 hertz touch sampling rate. So when you're gaming, it'll help with your accuracy and precise aiming. It's very helpful in shooter games. Paired with it, we also have a very good Z-axis linear motor. The feedback is super satisfying. It's a flagship level haptic, whether you're playing a game or typing a text to your friends. Now, with all of these high performance and extra features, we actually got certified. The POCO F2 Pro, one of the few phones on the market that has 2 Ryland high gaming performance certification. And in order to get this, we had to pass a series of tests: display, battery life, network, overall experience, heat dissipation, and overall performance. Now, for gaming, you know it takes more than just super powerful performance to have a great gaming experience. You also need flagship level connectivity. With the POCO F2 Pro, it supports 5G, Wi-Fi 6, and Super Bluetooth. You will always be connected, and the speeds are incredible. And maybe now another question raises up. With fast performance and fast connections, especially having the latest processor, the Snapdragon 865, paired with 5G, you must think it could drain the battery a lot. Which is why, for the POCO F2 Pro, we put in a massive 4,700 mAh battery. It just seems like the common sense thing to do. A 2-day long-lasting battery, Now you have sustainable performance and sustainable battery life. On a single charge, you could do a lot. Whether you want to game, listening to music, binging on great HD content, or recording some HD videos, you can do a lot of hours of it. And in case you do run out of juice, we have a 30-watt fast charging, and that's a flagship level fast charge. 63 minutes to 100%. You'll be charged up in no time. To give you a better taste on how powerful and smooth the POCO F2 is, we partnered up with Arena of Valor for a gaming test, a temperature and a battery test between the Samsung S20 Plus. Unfortunately, this was filmed before the OnePlus 8 Pro got released, so you got lucky there, OnePlus. We played 3 games to test how hot the phones got. Now let's take a look.